Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Some people just don't deserve your professional attitude. Our OP will tell you that, because the rules and regulations are the same for everyone. But try to prove it to her. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Do not want me to work my notice? Okay. I'll not work during my notice. I was working in an organization that was super toxic, so much so that we were a revolving door. Most employees stayed only a few months. To counter this, our management put a 3-month notice into everyone's contract, including the existing employees. It's not strictly illegal where this happened, but very unusual. I believe the idea behind it was to make it harder for the employees to find a job outside, as potential employers didn't usually want to wait for 3 months. However, this didn't work, as most people simply quit and waited for a month or two before starting their job hunt. I was there for almost 4 years. I needed the money, so I put up with whatever abusive crap was thrown at me. My boss was a guy who we'll call Vince, not actual name. Now, Vince was not particularly good, but he sometimes respected the fact that I was the most tenured grunt in this organization. Do note that after about 2 years, I was doing a lot of additional work in addition to my official responsibilities, primarily because I was the only one who knew how to do those. Everyone else had already left. This will become important later. Enter Rajesh, not actual name. Rajesh was poached from a somewhat infamous company and was literally flown in from a different continent. He was brought in to strategically improve our division. This was quite strange, given that our division generated the most profits. Within months, Rajesh made the environment even more toxic. He pulled Vince's team under him and got Vince fired, and he actively encouraged us grunts to spy on each other. Rajesh also had it out for me from day one. Until today, I don't know why. He started making my life much harder than the others. This culminated in him taking me aside and telling me that I was not pulling my weight. Now, at this point, I was doing quite well in the organization. Plus, I'd been doing a lot of additional work critical to our business, since only I knew certain systems and processes. See high attrition above? So I was quite angry. I started looking out. I wasn't still brave enough to quit and start looking. Fortunately, I was able to find a job that was willing to wait the 3 months. So it was my turn to take Rajesh aside and tell him I quit. Boy, Rajesh was pissed. He went from denial, "You can't quit," to negotiation, "What if I give you a raise at the year end?" before acceptance. Thus, I was serving my notice and working away like an honest bee, my usual work plus the additional work. At this point, I was called in by HR and told that Rajesh wanted me gone. The insane part was that he wanted me to pay the company for the 2.5-month shortfall in notice. I obviously refused, then went back and checked the contract. Turns out that a notice of less than 3 months could only happen through mutual consent, and the initiating party, company if they wanted me gone sooner, or me if I wanted to leave earlier, had to compensate the other party for the shortfall. The next day, I stopped doing almost all my work. I logged in and logged out my hours and did jack crap. I stopped doing any additional work I've been doing and started taking it really slow on my primary job responsibilities. Since no one else understood the details of what I did, I knew it'd be very hard for Rajesh or HR to prove that I was doing any of this on purpose. Then I sat back with my popcorn. Soon there was a complete meltdown all around. Rajesh would pull me into meetings and scream and try to bully me, and I would say nothing but smirk to his face. Next, they tried to have someone else learn the additional work I used to do from me so that they could do what I did. Remember I said earlier how I was the only one who knew some of the old systems and processes? Well, now I claimed I didn't really remember any of them, so obviously there could be no handover. Rajesh could do nothing, as none of this had been my responsibility or part of my contract, since the leadership had been only too happy to see me do this for free. Soon, my workplace turned into a dumpster fire. The HR/Rajesh smartened up and offered to buy out my notice if I cooperated and helped transition my work. I refused. Then, to twist the knife further, I started having meetings with fellow grunts. Remember, everyone was also a newbie. and encouraging them to leave as well. Indirectly, nothing could implicate me. HR tried to get me to leave twice more, but I ended up serving the full 3 months. Remember the mutual consent part? Rajesh eventually ran the division into the ground and got everyone laid off. It's like the company forgot that it was made up of people. When the people are gone, so is the company. And our second story. You wanted the white chocolate latte? Years ago, I worked at Starbucks, and even though it was a crappy job overall, I did it cheerfully and made decent coffee. One day, as I was in the back, the assistant manager stormed in. "I can't handle this customer. She wants a white chocolate latte with extra syrup, and I've already remade it, but she's still not happy." I said I'd take care of it and went out to find an irate woman complaining for all the store to hear. "I told you I want extra white chocolate. What's so hard to understand about that?" I smiled and introduced myself and told her I was there to make her happy. That took the immediate edge off, thankfully. Then I invited her around to the espresso station where I described exactly everything I was doing, cheerfully, as though she wasn't a time bomb. Now I've got the espresso coming, and while we're waiting, let's get started on that white chocolate. I don't remember exactly, it was many years ago, but there was a specific amount of syrup pumps you're supposed to put in when you make these candy drinks. Like 1 or at most 2, depending on the cup size. Let's say it was 2, and the assistant manager had put in 1 extra, so let's say it was 3. I told the customer how many pumps she'd gotten and then said, "But you want extra white chocolate, right? So let's do 4. Mind you, this must taste horrible. 1 pump of this corn syrupy nightmare is more than I can handle, personally. But I made the drink with the 4 pumps and gave it to her with a smile. And she took it and shouted, "This is still not GD enough. Why can't you people understand?" etc., etc. At this point, the other people in the store are looking at us warily. I come to realize I'm going to make this woman a sweet drink if it's the last thing I do. So I, cheerfully, throw away the mega sweet 4-pump drink and start over. This time I tell her, "I tell you what, let's go back to the pump again, and let's count them out. You didn't like 4 pumps, so let's do better." With her watching and the rest of the store staring agog, I pump that white chocolate syrup and count it loud. 1, 2. I do this 7 times. The cup feels heavy, like it's filled with quick-setting concrete. I pour the espresso and milk in there and try to stir. It's a mess. "Now, as a treat, would you like some whipped cream on that?" She says yes, so I comply. I hand it over, fully aware that this is the grossest drink ever made. It's probably a lethal amount of white chocolate syrup. I ask her to take a taste and make sure it's okay this time. She takes the straw in her mouth and sucks. It's slow going because the drink is at least 50% syrup. As the taste hits her, I see her eyes bulge slightly. Yes, it's disgusting. This is a horror that we've unleashed upon the world, and I don't know if it was the social pressure from the rest of the store watching her or what, but she managed to smile, actually said thank you, and then beat a hasty retreat. We never saw her again. It was a good day. Got me thinking of Edgar in Men in Black. "Give me sugar and water." And our next story. Entitled Karen gets mad at dollar store. I'm an armed security officer at an outdoor mall, so I get a call from a dollar store where everything's $1. You know the one. Anyway, the manager calls me and says that a minor attempted to steal in the store and the mother is causing a scene with other kids present. So I arrive and walk in and I see 8 kids and 1 mother all yelling. So I raise my voice and loudly exclaim, "Quiet, right now!" Well, Mama Karen turns around and tells me not to yell at her kids. I tell her that I apologize, but I couldn't follow what was going on, and would she kindly explain what was going on? She then proceeds to get an attitude and says that the store manager accused her child of stealing. I look to the manager, whom I've known for years, and say, "Ma'am, is this accurate?" She responds, "Yes, sir." The child, points to said child, has a candy bar and a drink. So I look to the mother and ask if she can ask the child to empty his pockets. She refuses, so in order to at least resolve the situation, I ask her and the children to step outside the store so that they won't be bothered by the staff of the store. In all honesty, this was just to get them out of the store. So now that we're outside, I get a text from the manager on our work phone that we carry, and it's a request to ban them from the store. This is something that I was going to do anyway. However, I decided to take it a step further and ban them from the entire mall complex. I have the paperwork with me to do this and began writing out the property ban and trespass warning for her. I ask her name for my report so that I can take it up with corporate, and she seems very happy at that and gives me her name. I put her information on my report and the property ban and trespass paperwork. Just to clarify, I do have to notify property management of what I had to do, so I didn't lie to her. So I tear off her copy of the trespass and property ban, and she explodes at me. "You can't do this. You don't have the authority to do this. I'm calling the police. My husband works there." So I politely tell her to make the call, and I'll be glad to wait for them to arrive. She makes the call, and about 10 minutes later, the police arrive with several officers. I explain to the sergeant that has arrived of what's going on, and he looks bewildered and says, "She's throwing a fit over that? Seriously?" He then goes to her and asks her for her side. She starts waving the paper that I gave her in the officer's face and says, "This is illegal. He can't do this." So the officer looks at the paper and then at her and says with the most polite and charming smile that's hiding a laugh, "Ma'am, according to this, you're banned from the property." She screams and says, "But how will I do my kids' shopping?" The officer tells her she'll have to go to another mall, 45 minutes away. She huffs and calls her husband, who arrives shortly. He does indeed work for the police department, and he speaks with me and looks at the paperwork. He then looks at his wife and says, "I'll see you at home. We're going to talk about this." She then leaves crying with the kids. The husband turns to me and shakes my hand and tells me that he's sorry for her causing trouble. 2 weeks later, I get a commendation from my company and the owners of the mall over the incident. Sounds like the husband already knew she was a problem. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.